Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to like the video if you have tuned in. Dislike the video. The stream will begin momentarily. Your patience is appreciated. If you have insight or you want my advice on a certain topic or discussion, you can always use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Again, that is hashtag AskBandit on Twitter.
Hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. If you have a question for Bandit, use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. You want my insight? You want my advice? Go to Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, Bandit3X. Thank you. The live stream will begin momentarily.
If you have a topic or a case that you want discussed on this network, email serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Again, that is serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Keep in mind that anything discussed on this network is simply Bandit's opinions and viewpoints. All things fall under the copyright disclaimer, Section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, education, and research. Thank you for tuning in. The live stream will begin momentarily.
Yes, and tonight we are going to be talking about Jonathan Lee Riches. So the copyright disclaimer, let me shut myself up for 1 second here. Oopsies. The copyright disclaimer does fall under research on Jonathan Lee Riches. Yes, tonight we are going to be doing a deep dive into his astrological natal chart. Bandit, what does that mean? What do you mean by astrological natal chart? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you love astrology and if you follow astrology, then you'll enjoy this live stream because we're going to be taking a look at the astrological DNA behind Jonathan Lee Riches. What causes him to behave the way he does? What causes him to do the things he does, right? Some people will argue, well, that's just because he's Jonathan Lee Riches, you know? But I want to go deeper than that. I want to see what was written in the stars at the time of his birth. the cards that he was dealt. No pun intended. Thank you for tuning in once again to Bandits Podcast. Let's get started with the show. So let me change around the screen settings so we have room. So like I said before, we are going to be taking a look at Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, his natal chart, which I have pulled up right here. Take a gander, people. Some of you may be wondering, what the hell am I looking at? What does all of this mean? I'm going to be breaking it down to you guys tonight. What each one of these placements mean. And maybe that can explain some reasoning behind Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. Right? I'm going to be dropping a link. If you want to add some commentary to tonight's topic or discussion, feel free to click that link if you have something to say. Okay, it's in the chat for a reason. So let's hop into this. By the way, welcome to the people watching on my second channel, Renegade Discussions. So we have the sun in Capricorn, we have the moon in Pisces. Well, automatically with anybody with the moon in Pisces, the moon in Pisces, no offense to the moon in Pisces, anybody with moon in Pisces, but moon in Pisces is notorious for insanity. Like, you don't want to piss off a moon in Pisces, but we're going to be getting into it. Let's move on. Mercury in Capricorn, Venus in Aquarius, Mars in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Taurus, which is in retrograde. That's why the R is right there to the right. We have Saturn, which is also in retrograde. Uranus in Scorpio. Neptune in Sagittarius. We share the same generational planet. Pluto in Libra. Lilith in Taurus. And I can't see that because it's at the bottom of, okay, so the North Node is in Scorpio too. So what does this mean? Now that we've had a look at Jonathan Lee Ritchie's natal chart, I'm sure that he's unaware of this information himself. So if you're watching Jonathan, maybe I can teach you something about yourself. Why? What causes you to act the way you do, right? Let's look into it. The following information is coming to you from Cafe Astrology if you want to go look at it for yourself. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's was born on December 27th of 1976. Just in case you're wondering what his birthday is. I don't know his birth time, so let me plug in my good microphone. Oh my God. Oh, I don't know his birth time. I don't know his birth time. So we're not going to get the aspects and the angles and the rising sign. I don't have that, but I have his basic planets pulled up here. He was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. pronoun she. That was a mistake, but some people may think, oh no, Band-Aid, that's appropriate. You did the right thing by putting JLR in the pronoun she. I swear to God, that was a mistake. That was a mistake. I didn't even notice that, but we're just going to roll with it. So once again, here's his natal chart. Let's begin with the sun in Capricorn. Automatically, my intuitive interpretations from anybody with sun in Capricorn, sun and Capricorns are driven to the absolute extreme. They are driven. They are very motivated. They are hard workers or workaholics with any occupation that they choose to do. Capricorn is a fleet on the ground, eye on the prize sign. So they have their eyes on the prize constantly. Those with sun in Capricorn have a realistic and grounded approach to life that is apparent no matter how dreamy the rest of the birth chart may be. Now, going back to the natal chart that we're seeing right here, that you're looking at on the screen, you can see that he has his moon in Pisces. Pisces, especially within the moon placement, that makes one, yes, very psychic, but those with moon in Pisces have to watch out for psychosis. Mental illness is highlighted with moon in Pisces. We're going to be getting to the moon here in a second, but let's look at the sun in Capricorns. Some Capricorns naturally turn their backs on what they deem to be too frivolous. They are very much concerned with the worthwhile. Capricorns want to do and be something worthwhile. Like earth signs, relatives, Taurus and Virgo. Taurus and Virgo are the other earth signs. So Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, that's earth. They need to feel useful and effective in the real world to be satisfied with their lives. But the Capricorn spin on the earth signs is that Capricorn possesses a strong need for recognition. Let's read that again. Sorry for yelling. Capricorn sun signs possess a stronger need for recognition, despite if they may tell you or not. They may not admit this, but any Capricorn needs to be recognized. It doesn't matter how, it doesn't have to be a big, grandiose recognition, but you at least have to give them credit. That's all they're looking for. But the Capricorn, we've already read that, recognition in a worldly sense, meaning they want to be known for something. When Capricorns leave this earth, they want to be known for something. They have to, or else they will die with the mentality of being useless and worthless. That is their biggest fear. That is their biggest fear. Any Capricorn is afraid of being useless and worthless. They have to have some type of use to them. No matter how big or small, you can apply this to anything else. And tonight we're talking about Jonathan Lee Riches. So again, he's a sun in Capricorn. They have a strong sense of society in its framework, and they feel most secure when they feel like they're doing their part within the framework. Capricorns like to pare things down, and they take pleasure in the simple things in life. However, most are attracted to status symbols. Most Capricorns are attracted to status symbols. Hierarchy. They want to be the hierarchy, the boss, the leader, the one that calls the shots. They want to get their way to the top of the pyramid. Remember, Capricorn in the zodiac is represented by the mountain goat. So if you think of a mountain goat and you think of the terrain that the mountain goat has to climb, usually to the top of the mountain, that takes a lot of work. But once they're at the top of the mountain, they're at the top of the mountain. They're always climbing. They're always reaching for something. Again, there's a reason why Capricorns have a reputation for being workaholics. Now, the other shadow side about Capricorn, and you can apply this, I'm just talking about Capricorn, but again, we're also talking about Jonathan Lee Riches. So for anybody that's been following him, you can apply this with what I'm about to say. Capricorn has to watch out for falling addicted to something, addictions. They're very addiction prone. They have an addictive personality, a lot of Capricorns, whether that means, drugs, heroin, sex, alcohol, what else? Meth, exercising, eating too much, drinking too much, any type of vice. I mean, it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It can be anything, like working out too much, working too much, posting ridiculous fucking videos on YouTube every fucking day, doxing and harassing another person, a different person each day. Yeah, that's Capricorn for you. They won't stop. They won't. It's in their nature. Capricorns can sometimes be lonely. I don't know how I was having a hard time pronouncing that. Although they rarely let it show. They're often a little reserved and even standoffish. This is genuinely because they value all things practical and they seldom wear their emotions on their sleeves unless they have a particularly flamboyant moon sign, such as Moon in Pisces. Moon in Pisces. I can't wait to get into this. I can't wait to get into Moon in Pisces. This is a sign that surely the most resourceful of the zodiac. To some, Capricorns come across as unimaginative, but they can be enormously creative when it comes to the material world. They are genuinely very capable people with strong sense and tradition and responsibilities. Now, again, we're talking about the good aspects, the positive aspects of Capricorn. Many Capricorns have mastered the art of making people laugh. Have you ever met a Capricorn without a dry sense of humor? Capricorns, they seem to be funny. Like they're funny without even trying to be funny. And even if they try to be funny, it doesn't even take that much. Their sense of humor can often be deep panned variety. They're genuinely excellent at keeping a straight face. Even they can be a little bit sarcastic too. Yes, Capricorns can be very sarcastic. Capricorns are not known for taking too many risks in life. They value the beaten track and things tried and true. This is not to say they are not stick to the muds. They simply value hard work laid down by those who have been around before them. So in other words, any Capricorn respects authority. They respect their elders, right? Respect your elders. That's what most Capricorns you come across, not all, but most Capricorns, they have that sense of morals about them. That is because, and I would also like to bring up this, Capricorn, the sign of Capricorn. If you're a Capricorn and if you're watching this, you are ruled by the planet Saturn. Now, what does Saturn represent in astrology? Saturn represents structures, systems, boundaries, rules, regulations. Saturn is the father of karma. It is also father time. It rules over time. And it co-rules over the sign of Aquarius too. So if you're an Aquarius, you can also apply this. Short description. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is honest, reserved, uh about said circumcised. Circumcised. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm really sorry. I cracked myself. That's a little bit too much information there. Oh my God. Honorable and strong-willed, quietly ambitious within the realms of possible. He likes and takes on responsibility. He can work in social domains. Possible issues. Well, let's look at here. A sometimes bitter and mistrustful mind. Oh, okay. So let's stop it right there because we have a clue. Feel free to, I hope that you have your pen and paper out because just take notes if you want a profile. Possible issues with Sun and Capricorn, sometimes bitter and mistrustful. Wasn't Jonathan Lee Ritchie's in a mental prison hospital, a prison hospital? That's what I call them. And he was force fed through a tube because he spent 28 days or some other time period without eating. So the guy was not eating for so long, they had to force feed a tube down him in the prison hospital. It just goes to show the dedication that he stands for. So let's move on. Let's move on to the other placement here before people get bored. Let's get on to the exciting stuff. The moon in Pisces. The moon represents the emotional responses, unconscious predestination, and the self-image. So in astrology, the moon in astrology represents your feelings, your internal environment. It's your most private self. It's a very personal planet in astrology. When no one else, just imagine yourself in a lonely room, or you, better yet, imagine yourself at home. You're relaxed, you're alone, you're in your zone, you're doing what you need to do. That's your moon sign. Your most personal, private self is your moon sign. Some astrologers will argue that the moon sign is more significant than the sun sign, even though the sun sign forms your identity. The moon sign is your soul. So think of the sun in astrology as what you identify with. In this instance, we're talking about Jonathan Lee Ritchie. So he's a Capricorn. He identifies with the traits we just talked about: hardworking, reserved. He's dedicated. He likes tradition. Yeah, whatever. But once you dive deeper into someone's personality, that's when the moon sign plays a major role. As it's just said, the moon represents your emotional responses, how you react to something when it happens. It's not something that you have to think about. It's just something that is automatic. It's just an automatic response. That's your moon sign. Get it? Got it? Good. The moon in Pisces. Lunar Pisceans are known to be dreamy and not always in touch with reality. Though these people may not always show real world savvy in day to day practical affairs, they make up with remarkable intuition. They can put themselves into anybody's shoes with an extreme case. Sorry, I just bumped against my mic. On the plus side, this endows them to make remarkable compassion and love. The downside to this placement is the ability to break down boundaries. They can easily lose themselves in suffering of others. In the suffering of others, it is easy for them to lose themselves, disidentify themselves, and identify more with people they're showing compassion to. So it creates this toxic enmeshment with other people. And it stems from being selfless. This is what Moon and Pisces have to watch out for. Pisces sun sign too. If you're a sun in Pisces, then this can also apply to you, but especially Moon in Pisces. So like I said, the lunar Pisceans are known to be dreamy and not always in touch with reality. They are also prone to hospitalization, asylums, prisons, the prison system, incarceration. Pisces is ruled by Neptune. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. It represents the unknown, the mystical world, all things psychic. Let me dumb it down to y'all. All things psychic, so metaphorical, metaphysical stuff, tarot cards, crystals, divination, all of that stuff falls under the sign of Pisces. Some people may view it as impractical, and that's the whole point. Pisces, in general, is not practical. They're not practical, any Pisces. Now, that's not talking bad about Pisces, but let's keep in mind, Pisces, your opposite is Virgo. The opposite sign of Pisces is Virgo, which Virgos are known to be very structured, calculated, very practical signs, but at the same time, Virgo is the sign of service to other people in particular. So not only Pisces, but Virgo has this tendency to put others first more than themselves. Their sense of humor is delightfully silly and a bit odd. These are perceptive souls who seek to be in touch with all of the nuances and subtleties of human nature. Often this comes with strong sense of humor that is more than the receptive kind, and the type of sense of humor that would make other people view them as the life of the party. It's genuinely pretty easy to get along with them giggling. Ha ha ha. Well, Moon and Pisces people get tagged and spaced out, but there's much more to them that meets the eye. They feel things out and rely on their intuition. It just doesn't feel right for them to do otherwise. Their dreaminess can mean plenty of moments of absent-mindedness. These times of oblivion can lead them in all sorts of decamations with others. So basically, in bad situations, Pisces, the type of situations you just don't want to get yourself caught up in. A very sticky situation. If you let your imagination get the best of you, Pisces, Moon in Pisces, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. Who can too easily misunderstand these complex souls. Without plenty of space and time to dream, today Piscean moons easily get overloaded with life. Give them room to be alone and with themselves, and they're generally able to take on the world, even if their style is not always conventional or understandable when they do so. They are considered soft-hearted and sweet. Lunar Pisceans care about others and are easily touched by human suffering. This tendency gains them the reputation as suckers for sob stories. Although this may sometimes be true, many lunar Pisceans learn to adapt to their lifestyles and how to discern between sincerity and manipulation. Still, they definitely do have plenty of soft corners. So, in other words, Moon and Pisces, y'all are a candy ass. In personal relationships, lunar Pisceans are given and yielding. They are generally open to having They are generally open on a sexual level quietly. Their fantasies can be outreaching, indicate, and rich with emotion. Love is closely tied in with their sexuality. Most lunar Pisceans are shy. They need a trustworthy lover to bring them out. So, in the case with JLR, you notice how it said that lunar Pisceans are shy. Now, you wouldn't think that from your internet persona, which also has an astrological term. It's called the midheaven. The midheaven. And that's how other people view you that don't know you, but they form their first impressions of you. So, again, and in order to determine the midheaven, you have to get the rising sign. And in order to get the rising sign, we have to know the exact time of birth that Jonathan was born at. So we don't know his midheaven, we don't know his rising, we don't know aspects and degrees, but I'm giving you the meat and potatoes of his natal chart. Anyways, going back to how it said that lunar Pisceans are shy and reserved. With him being a Capricorn sun sign, that's going to alter those traits. As we mentioned before, Capricorn is very driven. As we can see, Jonathan Lee Riches is very driven. He's motivated. He will not stop ever. You know, he doesn't give a fuck what you think. And I'm not standing up for Jonathan Lee Riches. I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm unbiased. I'm just telling you, this is probably his personality based on an astrological stance. He does not give a fuck. He will not stop. He is a Capricorn. He is driven. He is motivated to achieve whatever goal he's reaching for. Once again, thank you for joining if you have tuned in. So let's jump down to this piece of information. It said that most Piscean moons are they instinctually know when they're due for much needed recharge. It's at these times that they retreat from the world and its harsh realities, only to gather the strength to face everything and everyone again. Solitude is important for them, but they also need people. So their retreats will usually be short-lived. Their retreats or hiatuses, an internet hiatus, will probably be short-lived if Jonathan Lee Riches choose to ever go on an internet hiatus from YouTube. Just a heads up, it won't be too long. That's if he does it voluntarily. Now, if it's involuntarily, I don't know if this will still apply. Like if his channel gets taken down by YouTube, then my guess is that he'll probably be back with like 5 more. Piscean moon individuals believe, and let's face it, the world needs Piscean's leap of faith. Oh my God. So let's hop down to the potential issues with Moon and Pisces. Potential issues, troubles caused by too much, basically feeling too empathetic with people. Worries, problems, unhealthy imagination. Ooh, let's stop. Unhealthy imagination. You notice how he like fabricates and weaves these webs of lies? An unhealthy imagination. So the next time that you hear Jonathan Lee Riches tell a lie, a blatant lie, or try to dox somebody or do speculation that turns out to be false, understand that he's a moon in Pisces. He's a lunar Piscean. This is what they do. Bandit, are you blaming Jonathan Lee Riches' behavior on his astrology chart? No, I'm not. This does not excuse what he's doing. I'm just telling y'all this is probably why he acts the way he does. So now let's move on to the Mercury. Mercury, and I'm going to be stepping away from the camera briefly so I can go grab myself a drink. Thank you once again. Okay. Oh, hello, American honey. Good evening. I'm just now seeing your comment, dear. My daughter is a Capricorn, and you've described her perfectly. And you're an Aquarius. I'm a Leo. So we're opposites. Thank you for tuning in, American honey. I'll be right back. I have to go get myself a drink. Take a look at, while I'm gone, take a gander at Mercury and what it means in astrology. Mercury represents communication and the logical spirit. It is the mind in astrology. Now, what does Mercury mean in Capricorn? Jonathan Lee Riches, Mercury placement. Take a look. Tell me what you think. It takes me 10 minutes just to go grab a drink. Welcome back to the podcast. Hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I'll be back, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. Stepping away. Be sure
sure to like the video. If you have tuned in, dislike the video. The stream will begin momentarily. Your patience is appreciated. If you have insight or you want my advice on a certain topic or discussion, you can always use the hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Again, that is hashtag AskBandit on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Bandit3X. If you have a topic or a case that you want discussed on this network, email serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Again, that is serathicpathways@yahoo.com. Keep in mind that anything discussed on this network is simply Bandit's opinions and viewpoints. All things fall under the copyright disclaimer section 107 of Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, education, and research. Thank you for tuning in. The live stream will begin momentarily. Did you like the video? Like the video if you already.
Yes, and tonight we are researching the astrological natal chart of Jonathan Lee Riches. What causes him to behave the way he does? Is it just because, he's a psychopath and he's a stalker and he's obsessive? Or is it something deeper? Is it written in the stars at the time of his birth? Was he dealt bad cards in this life? And that's the reason why he behaves the way he does. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think? You tell me what you think. Let's carry on. So we're talking about Mercury now. Mercury in astrology represents the mind. It's how we think. It's our thought processes. I think I'm saying that word right? It's how we think. It's the thoughts that go through our mind. It also rules over how you talk and how you communicate, right? So the way that you talk is affected by the Mercury sign. Mercury has influence with your communication. Mercury is all about communication. And Jonathan Lee Riches has his in Capricorn. So Capricorn twice coming in strong. And just a little FYI, guys, if you ever take time to view your natal chart, you will notice that your sun sign and your Mercury sign, if they're not the same sign, they're usually like a few signs apart, maybe one sign behind. For example, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a Leo sun sign, and my Mercury is in Virgo. So it's one sign ahead of me So it may be one sign back. So if you're a sun sign Leo, your Mercury is probably going to be in Cancer or Virgo, possibly Libra. You get the gist. Just a little fun fact. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's mind compartmentalizes impressions, and he appreciates structure and order. The mind learns best when it can see practical uses for information, resourceful and reflective deep thinker, a fine mind. It may undertake lengthy studies, or if circumstances do not allow, will teach himself. A rational person he is, well, that's debatable. I don't know about that. There could be other things that's influencing this rationality, right? And I'm pretty sure that's the moon in Pisces. If you have Pisces anywhere in your chart, then it's ass backwards. He can be pessimistic, skeptical, and sarcastic, possessing a very sharp sense of humor, notices everything. Even if he may not say anything, he notices everything. Now, there is a 105 trine between Mercury and Jupiter. What does that mean? Let's pull this back up. A trine, astrology, means that a planet shares the same element. We talked about the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, his sun, along with his Mercury, and it looks like his Jupiter, are all trine. So the sun is trining Mercury, and it's also trining Jupiter. What does this mean? Well, he has the gift of gab, right? He's a fast talker. If you spend enough time with him, he can convince anybody that's not strong-willed and strong-minded anything he wants you to. Hell, he can tell you that the sky is green, and with enough proof, quote unquote proof, he can convince you otherwise. He has a sharp mind, people. That's what it means. His mind has got him into, it can be one of his best defenses or one of his best kryptonites. It can sabotage him or it can work in his favor. So the trine between Jupiter and Mercury, he is intelligent with big ideas. He is tolerant and has a strong sense of justice. A strong sense of justice with Mercury trining Jupiter. Is this what draws you to true crime, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's? Is this what draws you to true crime? You have a strong sense of bringing justice, so you want to take it into your own hands. He has a good judgment, a good sense, and has his feet on the ground. He has a gift of gab. What did I just say? The gift of gab. Fully enjoys lecture and learning. He will usually be successful socially. I don't know about that. You know, I hope that Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is watching this, or at least takes time to, he doesn't even have to watch this video. If you take time out of your day to learn something about yourself whether it be on your own time or if you come across this video. I don't know, he may not even watch me, but take something from this. Take these gifts that you have been given, Jonathan, the gift of gab, a smart mind, a creative imagination, and a strong sense of justice, and apply it for good instead of destroying people's lives, right? So let's get on to the trine between Mercury and Lilith. Mind you, they are both in Taurus. Pull it back up. So Black Moon Lilith is in Taurus. It is trining Jupiter. It is also trining the Sun. This can mean he can be very provocative in speech or communications. Ooh! Listen very carefully, people. If you can learn something from this, astrology can teach you a lot about people. I'm telling you. Can be provocative in speech or communications, persuasive, interesting, and quick to see the flaws of a situation. Venus. Oh, wow. So you notice how it says provocative. If one word describes Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, and this may be an understatement to some people's going to be like, hell, he's provocative. That's an understatement. Whatever word you want to use to describe his speech or communications, he has the gift of gab. And for very weak-minded people that don't have direction, he can sway them in any direction he wants. Whether it be a lie, a half-truth, the full truth, it doesn't matter. What was it? And I don't even like using this quote because I'm not trying to idolize Hitler, but even Hitler said that if you tell people a lie enough times, they will begin to believe it. If you tell people a lie enough times, they will begin to believe it. So his speech can be provocative in nature and persuasive. Okay, let's keep all of this in mind. I hope that you're taking notes. Let's move on. Venus. Take me to your Venus, your Venus, your Venus. Take me to your planet. Take me to your Venus, your Venus. Okay, enough talk. Venus in astrology represents an interest in emotions, values, exchange, and sharing with others. Venus in astrology also rules over your romances in interpersonal personal relationships. So Venus rules over your romance life, your love life, your relationships with other people. In a man's chart, Venus represents the woman in traditional astrology. It represents the woman that a man will marry, the characteristics of that woman, the sign of that woman. In a woman's chart, it will represent the men that she is attracted to. So in a woman's chart, Venus represents the men that a woman is attracted to. In a man's chart, Venus represents the woman that he will marry. So I don't know how JLR swings, but the person that he will possibly be with in the long term, if he does choose to get married or in a long-term relationship, will most likely be with an Aquarius, I predict, or someone that is an air sign. So Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius. Venus and Aquarius people try to impress you with their open-minded, future-thinking spirit. They want you to see them as unique, rebellious, and a little provocative. That word keeps on coming up a lot within his analysis. Provocative in nature. They are attractive when they are acting a little aloof. They want you to acknowledge and appreciate that they don't always follow the beaten track in matters of the heart. So, Jonathan Lee Riches, his long-term partner, since we're talking about the planet Venus, he'll probably be with somebody that is not his normal type, not the traditional type that he's attracted to, whether it be male or female. It's his business, doesn't matter. You can apply it whatever way. It's not going to be a person that he is his standard type per se, right? Everyone has a type. I really don't have a type. I don't consider myself to have a type personally. If I like you, if I find you attractive, if I find you sexy, I just find you sexy. I don't even know what my type is, you know. But regardless, we're not talking about me. We're talking about JLR. He'll probably be with somebody he least expects to be with. And that goes with any Venus in Aquarius. Also, notice how Venus and Aquarius, they say that they are rebellious. And that's completely contradictory to the Sun in Capricorn, which is all about tradition. Following the beaten path, the reliable, the old and reliable. See, this is why everyone is not just their sun sign in astrology. You may be watching this and thinking, well, I'm a Gemini, so I don't know what you're talking about, but I clicked on this video because I saw JLR. Well, guess what? If you go to Cafe Astrology or any place on the internet, you can find out this information for yourself. If you type in your birthday, you can pull up your natal chart. Now, if you want to, I'm not going to get into it, but if you want to find out this information, just type in your own birthday on anybody. It's out there. But that's interesting. You're more than just your sun sign. You would think that JLR, for him to be a Capricorn, he's reserved in nature. He's honorary. He's trustworthy, right? Well, the Venus in Aquarius probably is having an impact on that. They want you to acknowledge and appreciate that they don't follow the beaten track in matters of the heart. Venus and Aquarius people are attracted to unusual and unconventional relationships. So a lot of Venus and Aquarius, and probably JLR too, open relationships, swingers, stuff like that. If you want to keep a Venus and Aquarius by your side, you have to keep them on their toes. The last thing you want is a Venus and Aquarius to be bored. That's when they'll leave. So if I had to predict, then JLR, if he's ever with somebody, he'll probably be with I don't know, an unconventional type marriage, possibly a long distance relationship, possibly someone that he will meet overseas or lives in a different state, possibly have a swinger relationship. Who knows? It's unconventional. They don't want to follow all the rules, although they may although they may make quite a few of their own. This is the funny thing about Aquarius. It is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. I can't sing. Any Aquarius, have you noticed that the rules don't apply to them, but they're so quick to make their own rules and they apply to other people, but they're the exception, right? So Aquarius doesn't like rules, so they make rules of their own to enforce on other people, but not themselves. I don't know. Maybe that's just the Leo in me. That keep in mind, I'm Aquarius opposite. Aquarius is my opposite sign. I'm sure I do some of the same things, but let me shut up before I put my foot in my mouth. I get it, Aquarius. I get it. You don't want to follow the rules. So you make rules of your own and expect other people to follow them, but you don't want to follow I get it. I'm not even going to come for you on that. So they don't want to follow the rules, but they make quite a few of them for their own. They make a lot of rules for their own. Shut up, move on to the point. That's a sign. The phone is saying, shut up. They can appear quite standoffish at times and are threatened by restrictions of any kind. So they are threatened by any restrictions of any kind. I mean, going back to the idea in my theory that JLR, any Venus in Aquarius is not going to be an Apollonious relationship. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. They very well could be, but chances are they like to dip and they like to dabble and they want more than just one partner. That's not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that at all. Venus in Aquarius wants you to love them for their intellect and to admire their visions. So the whole theme about going back to the need to be admired. Hold on for 1 second. I need to go kill this thing. This fucking bug is getting on my nerves. I want to kill it. I can't stand it buzzing in the background. Where did it go? People's like, don't kill the bug. You killed a bug. Oh my God. It's like, what? I heard it buzzing somewhere. I'm not afraid of it. It's bugging the shit out of me. That buzzing. If I catch it again, I'm going to kill it. Okay. So sorry about that. I got distracted. Okay. I'm easily distracted. That's my Mercury in Virgo that's acting up. So a square between Venus and Jupiter. What does a square mean? Some of you, this terminology you've never heard of before. You're not familiar with astrology, so I'm going to keep it short and sweet. A square in astrology is basically the same sign type. So we have fixed signs, we have mutable signs, fixed signs, and cardinal signs. The cardinal signs are Aries, Libra, Capricorn, and who is Aries, Libra, and Capricorn, Aries, Libra, and Cancer. Sorry. So Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, and Aries are all cardinal. Fixed is Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, and Scorpio. Get it? 4. 4. The squares, 4. So when you see squares in astrology, think of 4. There's 4 groups. And then we have the mutable signs, which is Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, and Pisces. So a square between Venus and Jupiter. If we go and look at his chart right here, we see that Jupiter is in Taurus. We have Venus in Aquarius. Both of these signs are fixed elements. That means they do not like change. They resist change. They do not deal well with change. And I get it because I'm a fixed sun sign. I'm a Leo sun sign. So I'll fall into this element myself. So remember that, rigid and stubborn. Jonathan Lee Riches, perhaps the self-important. He likes what is beautiful and sometimes unworldly, perhaps spending too much money very quickly. He likes to please and can have numerous adventures. He can have numerous adventures. We're talking about Jupiter. So the square between Jupiter and Venus, the signs of Taurus and the signs of Aquarius. By the way, Aquarius, Jupiter, and let's wait, hold on for 1 second. Jupiter and Aquarius, no, Jupiter and Taurus. Okay. Jupiter and Taurus, that's what he has. Jupiter, especially in the sign of Aquarius, represents the internet, the World Wide Web, technology, the future thinkings, the humanitarians, right? Aquarians are the humanitarians. They're the water bearers. He is big-hearted and warm with an open heart and has a tendency to want to give a lot to people he loves. He can also have problems with following through on his promises, however, not usually because of any ill intent, but because sometimes overestimates his personal capabilities, wanting to do more and give more than is actually possible. So yeah, that's the thing that Virgos and Aquarius, sometimes Aquarius have this tendency where they like to overshoot things. Like are you an Aquarius? And have you ever been told that, hey, you overshot it? You overshot that. You overshot it. Has anyone ever told you that? And you're like, how did I overshoot it? Well, you just overdid it. Too much. I mean, Aquarius can be very dogmatic. He may have a tendency to live beyond his means. He needs to be cautious about the tendency to feel overly optimistic or overly protective. Moderation is the most important and perhaps challenging life lesson for him. Ooh, what do we have here? We have an opposition going on between Venus and Saturn. So, what does an opposition mean? It means exactly what it sounds like, opposite signs. So if you look at Jonathan Lee Riches, the Saturn sign, he has 16 degrees Leo. Mercury is just 7 degrees more. I'm sorry, 21. So that's five more degrees. His Mercury sign is in Aquarius. Opposite signs, so they're 5 degrees from each other. 5 degrees, his Saturn and his Mercury. Look at the Saturn, look at the Mercury placements. They're opposite signs. He is hard or reserved at times and doesn't always know how to express his emotions. He may be frightened of showing his love, and this can lead to disappointments, breakups, and lack of satisfaction overall. He has doubts, he can be suspicious, worry too much, possibly jealousy, and more likely insecure. Now, from my understanding, doesn't he have a history of stalking? So I'm sure that obsession plays into that too. He has doubts, he can be suspicious, worry too much, possibly jealous, and more likely insecure. He will learn, he will have to learn to be happy and love, to be at ease with himself and control his jealousy or gain more assurance through self worth in the second half of his life, possibly thanks to a mature person who helped him learn to trust. So, how old is he? Like 40, 1970? Let's do the math. I know some people's gonna be like, he's 40 something. You're shut up. Let me do it. I want to do the math. He's 47 years old. He'll be 47 this year, so he's 46. So maybe he's already met this person that can teach him. It says right here that cautious about feeling overly optimistic. Okay, yeah, right here. So Saturn, remember, Saturn is the planet of lessons. Saturn, it's one of the malefic planets, what they like to call it, which is basically the feared planets in astrology. It's not like that Saturn is out to get you. No, Saturn is the lord of karma, which means what you put out, you will get. And a typical person usually goes through at least 3 Saturn returns in their lifetime. So, for example, let's say that his Saturn it's in Taurus, or I'm sorry, it's in Leo. By the way, his Saturn is debilitated. Saturn does not like Leo. But the next time that, okay, Google, when will Saturn be in Leo? So from August 26th of 2034 to February 15th of 2035, Saturn will be in the sign of Leo. If Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is around that time, that will mean he will be going through his 3rd Saturn return. Your Saturn return is supposed to teach you lessons. There's lessons no matter what happens during your Saturn return, and they're hard lessons. But once you come out of those trials and tribulations that Saturn will place in your life, it's like you'll come out shining. You'll come out a better person, a wiser person. You'll probably even have a few gray hairs. But guess what? It was well worth it because now you have the knowledge. Like I said, what you reap, you will sow with Saturn. And just because it's not happening, let's say that, some people bringing the conversation back to JLR. People's like, okay, Bandit, what's JLR's karma? Nothing bad has happened to JLR so far. We still see him out here on the internet. Well, you don't know about his personal life. You don't know what's going on in his personal life. What could be allegedly going on in his personal life. Keep this in mind too. Just because you don't see immediate results from your shitty behavior does not mean it's not coming. It's like a credit card, bitch. It's like a credit card, motherfucker. Either you're going to pay today or you're going to pay a month from now, but you will pay. And if you let it rack it up, just keep on racking it up, racking it up, it's probably going to be worse. A lot of the times people ask me, well, Bandit, some of these people in life that I've experienced, they're just pieces of shit. They're narcissistic pieces of shit that nothing bad seems to happen to them. Their day's coming. Maybe not even in this lifetime. Maybe their punishment for doing the things they did in this lifetime, they won't receive the karma. Their karma will come in the next lifetime. Now, you can apply that with spit burning and eternity in hell, or whatever else you choose to believe in. But you get the gist. Saturn, the planet Saturn, rules over karma. I'm curious to know if Jonathan Lee Ritchie has already met this figure in life, a mature person that will teach him how to trust. Now, I wonder who that person's going to be, or has already been. There's also a trine going on between Venus and Pluto. Pluto is in Libra. And Pluto in Libra, and I share that placement myself. Keep in mind, if you're wondering why I'm saying that, once you get out to Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, those are generational planets. All of those are generational planets. So a lot of people share these signs, and I share with JLR Pluto and Libra. But in his chart, he shares a trine between Venus and Pluto. Pluto is in Libra. Venus is in Aquarius. So automatically we have two air signs, very analytical mind. When you think of the element air, think of mental activity, think of the mind, thoughts. Venus and Aquarius, Pluto and Libra. If I had to guess, just from viewing his natal chart and not looking at cafe astrology and their interpretations, let me give you my intuitive interpretation. My guess would be there's a struggle or a huge lesson in this lifetime with give and take, compromising, learning to work with people. Aquarius, as I mentioned before, can be very dogmatic and stuck in their ways. Libra, on the other hand, if you're a Libra sun sign, you know exactly what I mean, even Libra moons. Hell, Libra risings, any type of Libra, you know what I mean. You think of others before yourself. And that's not a bad thing. It's a healthy balance. No pun intended. We're talking about Libra. Libra likes balance. Her emotional, I'm sorry, his emotional and sex life can be powerful and rich. He lives out truly passionate love affairs, extremely resourceful. He is also excellent at determining the worth of value of material things. He can also help others discover their own worth as well. So again, JLR, not everything is bad. Not everything is bad about his natal chart. There's good things and then there's bad things. If he chooses to utilize these good traits, then he could possibly make a positive difference in the world. He lives out his truly passionate love affairs, extremely resourceful. He is also excellent at determining the worth or value of material things. He can also help others in a productive way discover their own self-worth as well. He is naturally attracted to relationships that transform him, that are growing and evolving, and that are intense. Again, that Venus in Aquarius does not like to be bored. There has to be some type of fireworks going on. And I'm not only talking in the bedroom, I'm talking about other things like the whole relationship. You can't be boring with a Venus in Aquarius. He can use his strong intuition and understanding of others for good or for bad. He can use his strong intuition and understanding of others for good or for bad. And this deepens largely on other aspects of the chart. He can be highly devoted and passionate to things and people he loves. He can also be quite persuasive, which I find interesting. I mean, any character here on YouTube, you have to be, it helps. You don't have to be, but it helps if you're charming and you have that charm about you. And even if you are telling a blatant lie to people, you can look them straight in their face and they'll believe it just because, oh, I like to look at you, you know? You're cute. I like you. And it doesn't matter what they're saying. That's Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. And then the final square of Venus, there's a lot going on with the Venus guys. Venus, there's a lot that's going on with Venus. It's making squares, it's making trines, it's making oppositions. Jonathan, if you're watching this and if you ever come across this information or choose to research it yourself, I would recommend that you look at your Venus, because that could be what is causing blockages. Now, you can't change your Venus sign, but you can work to change your behavior and how you exhibit those traits. Again, they can be positive or they can be negative. They can be productive or they can work to your detriment. I hope that you have a strong intuition, and I'm pretty sure he does. He has a strong intuition, whether he realizes it or not. He probably does because he knows how to persuade people. So he understands people. He knows how they think. He knows the feelings of them because of that Pisces moon. That Pisces moon helped him emphasize more and enmesh himself into their problems and tragedies in a very toxic, unhealthy manner. And you're a pompous bigot. Yes, I am. Let's move on to the next planet, and that is Mars. Mars. All the way written in the stars. Mars. So, Mars in astrology represents the desire for action and physical energy. Mars, also in astrology, represents masculine energy. And by masculine, I don't mean male or female. We're talking about energy. So I know it's weird, but just roll with it. Mars in astrology represents physical activity. It represents your life source, your sexual drive. Okay, so if you want to know, for anybody out there, not just for JLR, but for anybody out there that wants to take tips, and if you're wondering, well, I've been seeing this guy or I've been seeing this girl, and I'm just wondering if we're compatible in the bedroom, look at the Mars sign in astrology. Mars represents sacred life source, your libido, your sex drive, your force, your action. You know, it rules over the sign of Aries. So if you're in Aries, you're ruled by Mars. So what does it mean when Mars is in the fire sign, the fiery sign of Sagittarius? When Mars is in Sagittarius, people get angry. They feel like running. They have to do something, not about it, but something else altogether. They don't have a lot of patience to wait things out. And I get that. I get that. This is where the restlessness and adventurous, damn it, nature of Sagittarius comes in. We all know that Sagittarius loves to travel. If you're a Sagittarius, and I have Sagittarius in my chart, we love to travel. We want to see the world. We want to live life, right? Go big or go fucking home. That's how Sagittarius rolls. Go big or go home. Sagittarius can also be known, and I'm speaking from personal experience from dating Sagittarians, especially Mars in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius has the tendency to, you have your pen and paper, be obsessive, very obsessive behavior with Mars in Sagittarius. Any Sagittarius, not just Mars in Sagittarius, but, and don't get mad at me, Sag, any Sag is watching. Y'all like to wear your heart on your sleeve. So, you know, Sagittarius, that's why they have the reputation of being somewhat gullible. Some people may find you gullible. But let's read on. They don't have a lot of patience to wait things out. This is where restlessness and adventure, I'm not going to try to struggle with that word, nature of Sagittarius comes in. People with this position of Mars should seriously consider physical activity. Now, has JLR, what did he play? Was he a swimmer? Did he play baseball, basketball, football? He has some type of sports background, I'm assuming, because especially with Mars and Sagittarius. Very active people, physically active people. The best means of Anger management. And I get that. Oh my God. I'm not even a Mars in Sagittarius, and I get that. I get that. You know, whenever you go to the, have you ever went to the gym and you're in a pissed off mood and you're just ready, you just want to fucking lash out on somebody. Just go ham on somebody's ass. And then by the time you leave, you're like, wow, I feel so much better. It's a good way to relieve that frustration, that built up tension that you have. Get it out through activity. I don't care if it's running, kicking football, basketball, baseball, boxing, or just simply working out. Working those biceps, triceps, those glutes. You know, when you do that, guess what you're doing? Whether you want whatever you want to refer to it as, some people they're going to have different terminology because they're not into astrology, whatever. You are transforming that negative energy into something productive. That is what Mars and Sagittarius needs to keep in mind. People with this position of Mars should seriously consider physical activity because it's the best means of anger management if they don't already do so naturally. People with Mars and Sag have a number of groups, have a number of projects going at once. So they have different things that they're working on all at once. They don't finish projects, they just leave them half-ass. You know, it's okay. I'm ADD too. This is where the restless if they don't already do so naturally. People with Mars and Sagittarius generally have a number of projects going at once. They are not known for their follow-through, however. So like I said, starting projects, starting things, don't finish things, half-assing shit. You know, they start on new projects, however, with admirable gusto. So they're very passionate about something, right? They throw themselves into something completely. Sagittarius does not go halfway. Again, go big or go home. If they put their heart into something, they're going to go all the way with it until they just don't care anymore. But that's the problem. A lot of the times, even sun sign Sagittarians do this. They get so infatuated with a person, an activity, something that they're into, you know, whatever you want to relate to it as. And then they just get burned out and they get bored and they move on. It's kind of like, damn, you know, if you're dating somebody, you're like, I just thought you were into me last week and now it's been a complete 360. Yeah, you're probably dealing with a Sagittarius, a Mars in Sagittarius, and especially a Venus in Sagittarius. Oh my God, don't even get me started on Venus and Sagittarius, because I'll be up here yelling all night, and we have not even got through the full natal chart. We're only on Mars. We have Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and Black Moon Lilith. We might as well take a look at the North Node. We have 6 more placements to go through, people. Please get comfortable. We're going to be here for a minute. Thank you for joining if you have tuned in. So most of the times, Mars in Sagittarius is playful and fun-loving. They love friendly debates, although they can go to extremes. Some take it personal when you don't agree with them or their ideology. Why wouldn't you agree after all? Well, for one, you might, especially if you have planets in Virgo or Gemini. Find plenty of holes in their arguments. Have you ever tried to debate with a Sagittarius or have some type of debate with them and they can't come back with any reasonable argument? they get offended if you don't agree with their dogma. Sagittarius can be another sign that's dogmatic. The thing is, more often than not, they haven't thought things through, yet they're very passionate about what they believe in. Huh, sounds like someone that we know that doesn't like to think things all the way through before making videos, before doxing someone publicly online that they don't know, or doxing somebody else that they thought was another person and whoopsies, it's not the person I thought it was. Yeah, you don't think things through. Sagittarius, Mars and Sagittarius don't think things through. Check it twice, cut it once. They don't get that. They don't get that. Mars in Sagittarius loves to wing it, quote unquote. They love to wing it. Mars and Sagittarius people see themselves as warm-blooded folks. They are, but they sometimes run roughshod over others' feelings during their more passionate debates. They can be blunt, although they have more of a tact. If they have a more tactful Mercury placement, they can be careful with their words. So in this case, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, his Mercury is in Capricorn, his Mars is in Sagittarius. So whenever he's debating with you, you're not going to see him blow up. You're not going to see him get all, pissed off and mad and show his, again, he's a Capricorn. He's a sun sign Capricorn, which means he's good at keeping a straight face. His entire fucking world could be collapsing right now. And it would not show on his face. He's going to keep a good poker face. That's what Capricorns are known to do. That's what they're a mastery of. Okay? So you're not going to see Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, whenever you disagree with what he says, blow up. He's not going to make himself look like a donkey's ass. Most likely, he's going to block you if you don't agree with him, or take the Abhomenon stance or something. But you're not going to see him blow up. You're not going to see him lose his composure while debating with him. So if anybody's out there, they want to trigger, we trigger Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. Even if you did, he probably won't let it show. I'm just saying. Mars and Sagittarius can be a little bit hard to understand. Sometimes they seem to be the most easygoing of people when they love a good joke and a good time. Oftentimes, they're on fire and passionate about something or some other person. Anything that fences them in, they reject. So they don't like to be caged in. They don't like to be incarcerated. I know a lot of people, they've been talking about how JLR was force-fed through a tube while he was in a hospital prison for a debate. I'm sure he did not handle that too well. Mars and Sagittarius does not like to be confined, feel like they're trapped in any way or fashion. Sense of way, form, or fashion, they like to be free. They need to feel like they have space. They're the ones who will run away when things are too serious or dull. So again, if anybody out there that's dating a Mars in Sagittarius, please watch out for love bombing. Some of you may know that terminology because you've researched narcissists and all this narcissistic shit. Narcissistic community of YouTube. Trust me, I know all about it. We're not talking about narcissists tonight, but some people, they can love bomb without knowing they're love bombing. Have you ever met somebody that's completely infatuated with you to the point where it's awkward? Like they're buying you a bunch of gifts that you didn't even ask for. And even when you say you don't want them, they insist you take them and you just do it. Okay, whatever. Just be nice, but still it makes you feel cringy. And then next week, they've done a complete 360. See, if you're like that, you probably be hurt. But if you're the type that gets your hopes up over a person, I'm talking about love life advice, love advice, over a Mars and Sagittarius. Oh my God, they really like me. Oh my God, they're really showing interest in me. Oh, don't hold your breath. Don't hold your breath. They like to go to the nearest shiny thing. The first thing they see. Oh. Oh my God. They'll likely to be back soon. It's just that they have a need to feel free or while they go batty. They go batty. Wait, it's just that if they ever disappear within your life, it's just that they need to feel free for a while or they go batty. They'll lose their mind if they don't have their freedom or space. Any Mars in Sagittarius will lose their God-given mind. When these people argue, get this, y'all. When these people argue, they can be too easily. They can too easily pick up a moralistic stance that drives everyone around them crazy. So again, dogma, very dogmatic, a very dogmatic sign. More likely than not, however, they jump off their high horse sooner than later and get back to having fun. Mars in Sagittarius is used to getting their own way, so they're used to getting their own way and pursuing others to believe what they believe in, persuading others to believe what they believe in. Sagittarius in astrology rules over religion. It's a lot of Sagittarians. It goes one or two ways. Either they're not religious at all and they're completely against religion, or they're too religious. Like they're Jesus freaks. That's okay if you're a Jesus freak. I'm sure that Jesus loves his freaks. Jesus loves all of his freaks, right? Even the people that take a little bit too overboard. But no, seriously, every Mars or every Sagittarius you'll find will be way too religious, like they're a preacher or something. I've also seen Sagittarians in my life where they started out as complete atheists and they hated the church. And then later on in life, they went back to their own old belief systems. So they started out hating religion, but then eventually later on, they came back to the same religion they used to hate. That's also a common thing with Sagittarius. But no matter if they're religious or not, they still have a dogmatic way of believing things or a dogmatic way of seeing things, right? And they can be very rigid. They can be very rigid. Let's get on to Jupiter. Boys go to Jupiter to JLR goes to Jupiter to get more stupider. Oh, Jupiter and Taurus. So, Jupiter and Taurus, Jupiter and astrology. Jupiter is one of the benefics in astrology. It is a benefic planet, meaning it brings good fortune. The lower octave of Jupiter astrology would be Venus. Jupiter, Venus, and Neptune are considered to be benefics. So they're the quote unquote good planets, right? Some people like to call them good planets. All planets have good and negative traits. But let's keep it simple and easy, straight to the point. Jupiter represents expansion and grace and good fortune too. It also has this weird relationship with Saturn. So Saturn is think of Saturn as the strict parent, right? Saturn is the strict father figure. Jupiter is the parent that is lenient, parent, astrologer, like professor, teacher, whatever comparison you want to use. But either way, what both planets have in common, they both bring lessons. Saturn just brings the lessons that you don't want to learn. Like, there's nothing fun about Saturn. Saturn is very serious. In fact, I'm about to experience my Saturn return. It's coming up in about 2 years, so and I can already feel it coming. But Jupiter, on the other hand, brings good fortune. So let's say that Jupiter wants to bring you good luck. JLR attracts the most good fortune when he is charitable. Get that. Charitable, generous, but discriminating. And that's not in the negative sense. Maybe they should have discernment, have a sense of discernment, and also patience. They should watch out for being overindulgent. He delights in sensual pleasures and wants to be good life. Now what's going on with his Jupiter? You have 3 squares between Jupiter and Saturn, JLR. You have Taurus, which is in Jupiter. You also have Saturn, which is in Leo, along with Venus, that is also squaring Saturn, and Lilith in your north node is also making a square to Saturn. So you have a lot of squares going on within your chart. A lot of fixed energy. And also Uranus too. That's in Scorpio. He is often indifferent to what goes on around him. He can be mistrustful and often in a state of being unsatisfied. He is easily irritated. For better health and improved mood, he should work on adopting a positive frame of mind. And since the first instinct may be to see things negative. So the opposition with Saturn and Jupiter, the lesson here is viewing the glass half full opposed to half empty. There's a pessimistic view with life with this opposition. But things may not be as bad as what they seem. That's what the whole lesson here is. There's also a conjunction going on between Jupiter and Lilith, meaning that he could meet a partner much wealthier than himself. Good sexual understanding. Huh. Well, JLR, look at that. The person that you meet. You know, is JLR about to find a sugar daddy or a sugar mama? Don't be surprised if he turns up marrying or getting with somebody that's rich, that has money, that has some notoriety, that has some status. My prediction is that JLR will end up with someone that's going to fund him and support him financially. You know, it's going to be someone that has money, lots of money. Saturn. Oh, the dreaded planet of Saturn. What does Saturn mean? Saturn is in Leo. In a position of authority, JLR likes and assumes responsibility. He receives favors from patrons who recognize his merits or similarity. I'm getting tongue-tied, y'all. I can't say shit right. Receives honors in return for well-accomplished tasks. So, in other words, he needs the recognition to go on. He needs the recognition to drive his goal further. If he does not have recognition for something that he's trying to do, then he gets very discouraged. And considering that Saturn is already in the opposition of Leo, which, remember, Saturn, it rules over Capricorn, his sun sign. It also co-rules over Aquarius, which is Venus is in Aquarius. He has a lot going on with his Saturn. So Saturn in Leo. The main lesson here is that he wants to be in charge, but he can't. He can't be in charge of everything. He can't be in charge of everything. Weaknesses. Oh, let's get on to the weaknesses. Abuse of power. Little feeling in the workplace. 5. Oh my God, you have 5 squares between Saturn and Uranus. Oh my, Uranus is in Scorpio, is also making a square to your Saturn. All of the fixed signs in his chart is making a square to the Saturn. JLR does not like routine, whether at work or in his emotional life. He does not like routine. He doesn't like to do the same thing over and over and over again, which is very Saturnian. Saturnian is old school. Stick to the books. He fights to keep his independence, his freedom of action, and he would gladly remake the world. He would gladly remake the world. He does not like routine, whether it be at his work or in his personal life. He fights to keep his independence alive, his freedom of action, his freedom of speech alive too. There's a lot of oppositions going on here with Saturn. Now let's go over to Neptune, and his Neptune, I keep on flashing it on the screen. I'm sorry. His Neptune is in Sagittarius. So how does this relate to Saturn? Neptune and Neptune making a trine with Saturn means that his plans are realized in a meta meta metadical fashion. He works hard to achieve success, so he's a hard worker, right? He's very determined. Scorpio is a determined sign. It is a driven sign. It is a passionate sign. It is also a fixed sign. Same thing as Aquarius, same thing as Taurus, same thing as Leo. Again, he will not stop until he gets what he wants. But considering that Saturn, here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Considering that Saturn is making a trine with Neptune, Neptune in astrology rules over delusions, illusions, lies, deception, smoke and mirrors, the unknown. Those are the negative qualities of Neptune. In other words, JLR has to watch out for falling victim to his own deception. Going back up here, Saturn in Leo wants to be in a position of authority. Remember when JLR made a short parody appearance on Court TV? That's what I consider it to be, because Court TV trolled your ass so hard. They trolled the fuck out of you, bro. You have to watch out for that, because he thinks he's in authority. He thinks he's getting into, a position of power. And other people around him, this actually makes him very vulnerable, because people, they will see that and they will manipulate that. That will make it easier for them to manipulate him and make him believe that he's calling the shots and he's in charge and he's the big guy. But in reality, you're just playing as a puppet. You're being played like a puppet. You see the irony within this astrology. I'm telling you, some people, they want to call me crazy. You can think whatever you want to about me. I don't care. You can call me crazy. I don't care. You can call me whatever you want to. I don't care. Do your homework with astrology. I'm telling you, there's something to this. If you ever want to look up, or if you ever want to find out someone's personality, how they operate, their mentality, look at their natal chart and learn astrology. It explains a whole lot. It may not explain everything, but it provides answers to why people act the way they do. So let's move on to Uranus. There's a square going on between Uranus and Saturn. He does not like to be routine, whether at work or in his emotional life. He fights to keep his independence and freedom. We've already went over that. There is a trine between Neptune. We've already went over that. I talked too much. Sextile between Saturn and Pluto. That means that's a good thing. That's a good thing. There's a sextile going on between Saturn and Pluto. So Pluto is in Libra. Saturn is exalted when it's in the sign of Libra. So he has his Pluto, which that's in Libra, working with him. So how can JLR, if he chooses to, of course, because only people can change, utilize this power to his advantage? Well, first of all, learn to work with people. He preserves achieving his projects through hard work. But all of that hard work does not have to be done by just one person, yourself. You need others to help you. There's also a square going on between Uranus and Lilith, Black Moon Lilith. He may live with an older or someone that is more mature person. So does JLR live alone? Who does he live with? Has anybody found out that information for all of my web sleuths out there? For the ones of you that follow JLR's shenanigans, who does he live with? I don't watch his channel. I occasionally watch some videos when it's about Summer Wells, and I've seen some about Brian Koberger from Idaho 4, but I don't watch his channel like that. And when I see videos talking about JLR, I'm wondering, he lives in Florida, doesn't he? So he lives in Florida, I know that, but does he live alone? My guess is that he lives with someone that is more mature or someone that is an elder, right? To him. Let's carry on. He may end up frustrated with this person over time. So my guess is that Jonathan Lee Ritchie's has a problem with maintaining roommates, the people that is in his environment, struggling to get along, bumping heads, especially with older people that he could view as having that knows more than him. Uranus represents an individual liberty and ego. I can't speak this. Oh my God. I just can't speak today, y'all. Liberty, egoistic liberty, whatever you want to pronounce it. Uranus and Scorpio. Ooh, this is interesting. There's that damn bug. So intelligent and subtle. Usually, he adores research, subtle. Maybe I need to put in my tongue ring. Whenever I have my tongue ring in, I seem to speak a little bit better with my S's. I cringe at myself sometimes when I watch myself back. Intelligent and subtle. Usually he adores research, inquiry, investigation. Oh my God! Are you serious? Oh, let's read that again. Uranus and Scorpio. Intelligent and subtle. Usually he adores research, inquiry, and guess what? You guessed it. Investigation. Right here. Oops. I can't highlight it. Investigation. Very sensual. May want to explore new ways to connect with others. Now, Uranus, it's interesting that Uranus is in Scorpio because Uranus rules over Aquarius. It is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. It is co-ruled by Saturn, but Uranus is the traditional ruler. Uranus does represent networking with other people. It also represents the internet, the Ethernet, the internet, the World Wide Web, may want to explore new ways to connect with others. So his passion for true crime on YouTube can be traced back to Uranus in Aquarius, Uranus being in the sign of Scorpio. '18 opposition between Uranus and Lilith. He may have difficulty achieving a peaceful love life. Black Moon Lilith, the shadow side that we all possess. That is your Black Moon Lilith. So, difficulties achieving a peaceful love life. My guess is, and of course, I'm assuming on anything I'm saying tonight pertaining to Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, he's had difficulties with his past partners maintaining peace, happiness, and harmony. Happiness and harmony and peace within your relationships. He struggles with that. He can have lots of adventures, love at first sights, and can lead, which can lead him to risky territory. Oh, so again, wearing your heart on your sleeves and going for the first thing you view as shiny, love at first sight, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's may believe in, may lead him into risky territory. Hey, does this intuition tell you not to bother people in real life? The consequences of doxing people and going real life with people over some beef on the internet. You also have to watch out for that. Again, we're talking about Uranus. Uranus is the internet, networking, rebellion, non-traditional. And when it's in the sign of Scorpio, yeah, that's definitely going to be impacting your love life, your relationships with other people, right? Also, Scorpios are known for being very passionate and throwing themselves into a relationship. All of themselves. They love hard. So, again, going back to what does it say? Love at first sight. It wouldn't be surprising if he did believe in love at first sight. It's a very intense energy of Scorpio. Oh, Lord. Have we reached the end? Oh my God, y'all. We made it. We made it through all of the planets. And for the people, there's no one watching on the live stream right now. So if you are watching on the replay, people's already tuned out. I guess I bored them enough. If you're watching on the replay, thank you for tuning in this long. Neptune represents translucent, liberty, non-ego, whatever liberty. It represents your imagination, damn it. Neptune in astrology, when we're discussing positive components of Neptune, imagination, compassion for other people, love. Neptune also rules over healing. Neptune can be very healing. It rules over the sign of Pisces. So if you're a Pisces, you're ruled by the planet Neptune. Think of Pisces, y'all. Think of how soft and cuddly Pisces can be and how nice Pisces can be. And I'm sure that Pisces is watching this like, please, you got us fucked up. We can turn that on or off at any time. And I know Pisces. I know what y'all are going to say. You don't want to piss off a Pisces. Fuck around and find out. Neptune and Sagittarius may especially enjoy long voyages, things that are foreign, being close to water. He lives in Florida. A lucid, broad spiritual vision, humane and spiritual. Now, mind you, Sagittarius, it's making a sextile to Pluto, which is in Libra. This means that he is perceptive and able to see the layers in a situation. He is naturally drawn to learning, which makes him and others tick. So he has a need for new knowledge with this sextiling his Pluto. You know, Neptune and Sagittarius, the negative traits of this, a lot of people, they're going to be like, well, what's the negative? You tuned in for the negative stuff, right? I'm assuming because most people that's going to be watching this video is not a big fan of Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. So you want to hear me sit up here and say, oh my God, Neptune and Sagittarius? Well, let me tell you about the bad thing about Neptune and Sagittarius. Illusion, big time. We've already talked enough about Sagittarius and them. The problem is they have tunnel vision, right? So when you combine that with a planet that represents illusions and delusions and confusion and deception, you know, it can be very bad. Especially if they want to utilize that information they're spreading to other people. Don't forget, Sagittarius is very dogmatic. They like to teach. They like to teach their ideology to other people. This can be a nasty cocktail of lies, of deception, of flat out blasphemy, really. Let me show you what I mean. His Neptune is 55 degrees sextile between Neptune and Pluto. So 55 degrees together. If we pull it up on the chart, let's look at Neptune. Let's look at Pluto. So his Pluto is 14 degrees in Libra. His Neptune is also 14 degrees in Sagittarius. They're only milliseconds apart, like 25.25 apart. What does this mean? He is perceptive and able to see layers into a situation. He likes to dig deep, y'all, right? Pluto and Libra. Let's look at Pluto. I always like to combine Pluto and Neptune because I like to see what's going on between Pluto and Neptune. So now let's look at Pluto by itself, and that is in the sign of Libra. May look for new ways to relate to others. He has a difficulty relating to other people. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's the lesson with your Pluto placement. Black Moon Lilith, your dark side, I'm just going to keep it simple, represents our darker, deeper natures that may be repressed or buried. So when we're talking about the Black Moon Lilith in astrology, we're talking about the subconscious stuff that you like to suppress. Think of your deepest, darkest desires. Things that you would not even openly admit that you like, that you secretly enjoy. Things that you will possibly take to the grave and will never admit to another person. That's your Black Moon Lilith. Your suppressed nature. So what is Jonathan Lee Ritchie's suppressed nature? He has Lilith in the sign of Taurus, an earth sign. Oh my God, so automatically it's making a trine. It's making a trine to the sun. It's making a trine to making it try to the sun. It's making it try to the Mercury. So it's trying his Mercury, his Sun, and his Jupiter. What's going on here? He can have a hard time feeling truly satisfied or saddened, but can also fear the state of wanting. Taurus in astrology talks about the very earthly things. Money, for example. Money, finances, your income, your stability, your livelihood. That's what Taurus represents. It's an earth sign. It also represents the actual physical earth. So think of earthquakes, tsunamis, tornadoes, hurricanes. All of those are ruled by Taurus. Very earthly things. Perhaps when they are penalized or criticized for being slow, oh, get this, savoring things or enjoying and indulging themselves. So, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, he could get a lot of criticism and backlash for enjoying too much, being overly indulgent with whatever, his own fantasies, a box of chocolates, the Dove soap, the video of the Dove soap or whatever soap. He was lathering himself up all good and wet on camera, just enjoying and being very sensual in nature. And oh my God, it feels so. That's Taurus. Taurus also represents the senses, our five senses, our touch, hear, smell, taste, and feel. See, I'm sorry. So touch, feel, smell, taste, and see. I can't believe I got that right. What? He likes to feel good. Period. Whenever he's in his own personal world, whenever he's in his private time, I'm sure that he likes to get wrapped up in a robe, balls hanging out, no underwear. I get it. Trust me, I get it. With a damn box of chocolates, some wine, a glass of Merlot, preferably chilled, a chilled wine glass. I don't want a hot wine glass. I want a chilled wine glass. Feet kicked up, watching your favorite shows on HBO, Netflix, with some spaghetti and meatballs cooking in the back. Like, you like to enjoy yourself. Do I need to go any further? You have your feet soaking in the bath in some salt water. You have your favorite candle back here in the background on the table, your favorite type of candle, a dim room. Maybe you're smoking a little bit of something. I mean, weed. 420 all day, every day. He likes to feel good, y'all. And he could be criticized for enjoying himself. So let's keep an even playing field. Going back to the fear of loss. The fear of loss can lead to possessiveness. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's can be very possessive. Understanding and accepting the very human desire to own and to have, and expressing these things moderately and responsibly can be empowering. So, what can we take from Black Moon Lilith? Well, we learned that they can be very possessive, they can be overindulgent, they can be very selfish. That's really the negative side to this. And when it comes down to it, if it comes down to you or them, it will be them every motherfucking time. It will be them every fucking time. It doesn't matter. They will put themselves first. That's a bad thing. It can be good or it can be bad. But if you're overly selfish and self-centered, then yeah, that's a problem. Finally, let's get on to the North Note, and then we're going to be wrapping up this podcast written in the stars, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. So the North Note is in Scorpio, your North Note in astrology, the North Note and the South Note. The South Node is always going to be this opposite sign of the North Node. So let's say, for example, the North Node right here, what sign is it in? It's in Scorpio. So he has a North Node in Scorpio. His South Node is going to be automatically in Taurus. So think of the North and South Node with this lifetime. If you believe in reincarnation, the North Node is where your soul wants to head. Maybe it's subconscious, but it's something that you don't know why. Like, have you ever done something in life like it feels very uncomfortable, possibly the hardest thing you have to do, but after you did it, you felt a sense of satisfaction, like something was right, like it's what your soul is being drawn to do, right? That is the North Node in astrology. The South Node is the lessons that you've already mastered. It's what you came into this life with. The gifts that you have been granted within this life is coming from the South Node. It's your comfort place. It's what you're used to. It's your comfort zone. That's why a lot of people within this life, they don't get to their North Node. It's not an easy thing to get to your North Node. In fact, it can be one of the most difficult things you ever do. So with that being said, the South Node represents the overdeveloped character traits. So again, it's just things that it's already things you mastered. You don't need to learn any more about this. It's things that you're comfortable with. We are talented here, but if we overdo this area of life or hold on to these traits or feel secure, we may stay stagnant. So if you remain in your South Node, you will become stagnant. These are things that you don't need to learn. This is not going to further your being a better person. The North Node points to the qualities that we need to work on and develop to achieve inner balance and fulfillment and a sense of satisfaction. So again, it's not an easy thing. It may sound simple, but it's not an easy thing. It's things that you normally would not do in your nature. But your soul, deep within inside your soul, you're being called to do it. And for some reason, it feels like the right thing to do, even though it may not be something that you're used to, and it may feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, it is the right thing to do. Think about that. Taste it, sit with it, marinate it. So what does it mean when the true note or the North Note is sometimes called the true note. It's the same thing. In Scorpio, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's is learning to be less reliant and set in his own ways. Oh. As the path to greater success and satisfaction is to share the load from time to time, he tends to stick to his habits, methods, and things. Learning loosen this opens him to a deeper need to transformation, intimacy, change, regeneration. Qualities to develop courage to make changes, going all in, sharing, and intimacy. So sharing, intimacy, getting along with people, being less dogmatic, period, and less rigid. The true note in Scorpio. Jonathan Lee Ritchie's used to viewing his way or the highway, his viewpoint. This is the things that he says, so they must be true. If he learns to listen more to people and learn to especially understand them and, learning not to take everything on by himself, he can actually use his platform for good. I don't think that he's a total loss. That's just my opinion. And I'm not about cancel culture. If you take anything from this video, I'm not about cancel culture. Should Jonathan Lee Ritchie's have a platform to speak? Absolutely. I think that everyone should. I think that everybody should have a platform for their voice to be heard. I'm not about cancel culture. I've already made a video about that. Go back and watch it. It was from a while back. And you technically cannot cancel anybody or anything, especially if they have some type of status. There's always going to be a following behind them. And then this is what people also need to realize, and I'll leave you with this. Okay, so we've already looked at the astrology behind Jonathan Lee Ritchie's. I think you get a good feel of what's going on in his chart. Regardless if Jonathan Lee Ritchie's had a YouTube channel or not, chances are he's probably going to be behaving like this in real life. Take YouTube out of the equation. He's probably going to be like this in his real life. He's going to have people behind him that support him. I'm unbiased. I talk about these people. Good, bad, ugly. Whether you choose to support them is up to you, right? So, with that being said, Jonathan Lee Ritchie's, I hope that you got something from this. I'll put this up on the screen one more time just in case you want to screenshot it for your own personal reference and you're too lazy to go to Google and type in your own natal chart. There you go. Sit on it and study it. I hope that you learned something about yourself. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great evening, and I will catch you in the next podcast.